Every skyscraper needs architectural blueprints.
Right.
And
Yeah.
every blockbuster film, well, it has a director orchestrating thousands of moving parts. And it strikes me that every successful tech innovation, the apps on your phone, the networks powering this university, needs something just as vital.
IT project management.
Exactly, IT project management. Without that strategic leadership, that planning, well, the world's most ambitious digital ideas, they just collapse before they even launch.
That's absolutely right. The digital world doesn't just happen by accident. It succeeds through really rigorous strategic project management. It's all about efficiency, predictability.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Today we are diving deep into what feels like the engine room of project execution, project resource management.
Yeah, definitely.
We're pulling directly from core academic material, sure, but really applying those concepts to the actual challenges faced in tech leadership, how things get delivered.
And this is fundamental knowledge, especially, for those of you studying these project management concepts, really focusing on how we improve the success rates of these complex IT initiatives.
Right.
Understanding where these ideas came from, the genesis of it all, and then actually applying them, maybe through group projects, being an active team member. That's the bridge, isn't it, between the theory and making a real impact in an organization.
So if you're aiming to be that professional who turns these abstract ideas into, well, concrete digital reality, this deep dive is essential.
Absolutely.
And before we really jump in, just a quick reminder for everyone listening, please hit that follow button, check the description for extra resources we'll mention, and yeah, let us guide you through the tricky bits of building digital success.
Okay, so when we talk about project resource management, the first big step is understanding what resources actually means. It's way broader than just, the people on your team.
Right, not just headcount.
Exactly. We usually break it down into three big categories: people, equipment, and materials.
And in today's IT world, that spectrum is just huge, isn't it? People aren't just programmers. They're like DevOps engineers with specific Kubernetes skills, or data scientists, or certified security auditors. Very specialized.
Precisely.
And equipment. That could be servers, high-end workstations, cloud capacity like an AWS instance, or even, specialized testing labs. And materials. That covers software licenses, maybe proprietary data sets, physical stuff for building out a data center, even the training materials for end users.
You got it.
Yeah.
So project resource management is the whole discipline. It's about defining what you need, estimating it, acquiring it, managing it, and using all those assets effectively.
Okay, so how do you manage all that? It sounds like a lot to juggle.
It is, but it breaks down quite logically into 6 interconnected steps. These run across the whole project life cycle.
Yeah.
From the big picture strategy right down to daily checks.
Okay, walk us through it. Where do we start?
We start with a strategic foundation, planning. The very first process is called plan resource management. And this isn't about estimating what you need yet. It's about defining the rules of the game. How are we going to estimate? How will we acquire resources? What processes will we use for, say, managing conflict or tracking usage?
So it's the framework, the how-to guide for everything else resource-related.
Exactly. Yeah. It sets the stage. Once that framework is defined, then we move to estimate activity resources.
Right. Now we're getting into the specifics.
Yes. This is where you get granular. You look at every single task, every work package, and estimate exactly what types and quantities of resources are needed.
And you need precision here, I imagine, not just a developer.
Absolutely not. It's a senior Java developer with at least 3 years of Spring Boot experience, or access to the UAT environment for 40 hours in week 6. This step gives you detailed estimates for your team, materials, equipment time, everything.
Okay, plan and estimate done. What's next? Executing.
Correct. We transition into the executing processes. And the first one here is pretty straightforward. Acquire resources.
This is the actual hunt, right? Getting the people, the machines, the software.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Obtaining the team members you need, which often involves some serious negotiation with functional managers, by the way.
Oh, I bet. Stealing the good people?
Sort of.
Huh?
Plus securing space in the data center, getting facilities ready, purchasing equipment, ordering materials. It's the active procurement phase.
So you've got the people, the stuff. Now what?
Now you focus on the people you just acquired. The next phase is develop team. This is all about investing in your human capital.
Okay, so training, team building.
Precisely. Improving the team's skills, how they interact, the overall environment, anything to boost performance. It could be formal training courses, informal mentoring, or, team building activities to help everyone gel.
And alongside development, you have to actually, well, manage them day to day.
Absolutely crucial. That's managed team. This is the ongoing daily oversight, tracking performance, both individual and team, giving feedback, the good and the bad, and, maybe most importantly, resolving issues as they pop up, whether they're technical disagreements or personality clashes.
Keeps the team on track and hopefully happy and productive.
That's the goal. This ensures the team stays optimized and aligned with what the project needs to achieve.
Okay, that covers the team side of executing. What about the physical stuff?
Right. The final step, which kind of bridges executing and monitoring, is control resources. This one focuses heavily on the physical assets.
Like the servers, the licenses.
Exactly. Are the servers actually available when the integration team needs them? Are we burning through software licenses faster than planned? It's all about monitoring the planned versus actual use of equipment and supplies.
And taking action if things go off track. Like if a critical network switch is stuck in customs.
Precisely. You initiate corrective action. Find an alternative. Expedite shipping, whatever it takes.
This whole structure seems really meticulous. But it feels like it only works if everyone knows exactly who's supposed to be doing what. Ambiguity must be a killer.
Oh, it's the silent killer of projects, absolutely. That's why documentation and clear roles are paramount.
So how do you document this stuff effectively?
Well, you use different tools depending on the level of detail needed. For that high-level view, who reports to whom, the basic structure you typically use hierarchical charts. Think org charts.
Okay, visual, top down.
Right. Easy to see reporting lines. But for the nitty-gritty operational details, you need text-based formats.
Like job descriptions?
Sort of, but more project-focused. They document the specific role, their detailed responsibilities, and this is critical, their assigned authority.
Yeah.
What decisions can they actually make?
That prevents that classic office problem where two people think they own the same decision.
Exactly. It avoids confusion and conflict. And that brings us to one of the most powerful tools for this, the Responsibility Assignment Matrix, or RAM, sometimes called a RACI chart.
I've heard of RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed.
That's the one. The RAM matrix links specific resources to specific work packages or tasks. Its real power lies in that A, accountable. While several people might be responsible for doing parts of a task or need to be consulted or informed, there can only be one person ultimately accountable for ensuring that task gets done correctly.
That feels really important. Let's make that concrete. Imagine like a big software update.
Okay.
You've got Alex working on a new API, Sarah handling the database migration. Both need to be involved in the final integration test.
Right.
If that RAM doesn't explicitly say who is accountable for signing off on that final test, well, they might both assume the other person did the final check thoroughly.
Finger pointing later.
Yeah. And then buggy code goes live because accountability was fuzzy. That single A being unclear can tank the whole release.
Perfectly illustrates the point. And this lack of clarity, or just poor resource management in general, leads straight into some really damaging practical pitfalls. Failing to control those physical resources can create huge risks.
Give me an example in IT.
Okay, think cloud infrastructure. If you fail to secure the needed cloud capacity, specialized servers or GPU instances, on time, your entire deployment schedule just stalls. Delivery delays hit you immediately, and they're costly.
Right, the team's ready, but the platform isn't.
Or think about quality. If you order low-quality materials, which in IT might mean using outdated security software, maybe hiring really cheap, high-turnover contractors without proper vetting.
You get what you pay for.
You do. And it damages the final product quality. You could end up with high recall rates, or, more likely in software, expensive rework because you shipped critical vulnerabilities.
There's also that whole inventory management challenge. It applies to IT too, doesn't it? Like licenses or cloud resources.
Absolutely perfectly. If a company overbuys licenses for some specialized database or analysis tool, or maybe they overcommit to AWS reserved instances they don't end up using.
They've got too much inventory, essentially. Wasted money.
Exactly. Massive unnecessary operations costs. It directly eats into profit.
But the flip side is also bad, right? Too little inventory.
Just as bad, sometimes worse. Let's say you don't have enough bandwidth or server capacity when a big marketing campaign suddenly drives huge traffic to your site.
Users get error messages, the site crashes.
Right. You fail to satisfy customer demand. That means lost revenue, frustrated users, damaged reputation. It's a really tricky balancing act. Requires constant monitoring and forecasting.
So a smart project manager needs to be aware of how the wider organization handles resources, right? Things like lean or just in time.
Oh, definitely. You have to adapt. If your company uses lean principles, you'll be focused on eliminating waste. If they use just-in-time or JIT.
That's where things arrive exactly when needed, like in manufacturing.
Yeah. In hardware projects, that can minimize storage costs. But honestly, in many software projects, the theory of constraints, or TOC, is often more insightful.
Theory of constraints, finding the bottleneck.
Exactly. The bottleneck, the critical constraint, usually isn't physical inventory in software. It's often the availability of the lead architect, or how fast the security review team works, or the limited capacity of the final performance testing environment.
So the PM has to manage the project flow around that specific constraint.
Precisely. You adapt the workflow to maximize the efficiency of whatever is slowing things down the most.
And all this planning, all these methods, they hinge on good estimates, don't they? Estimation integrity.
Foundational. Project managers have a professional, even ethical responsibility here. Provide estimates that are as accurate as feasible.
And how do you do that? Gut feel.
No. Data. You leverage historical information. Look at past similar projects. If the last 3 times you integrated with that specific payment gateway it took, say, 6 weeks, your estimate for the 4th time shouldn't magically be 2 weeks without a very good reason.
Right, learn from the past.
And we need to be really clear about this. Yeah. Providing deliberately low estimates just to win a bid or make a stakeholder happy, that's not okay.
Sometimes called lowballing, or maybe padding the schedule later to compensate.
Yeah, or sandbagging, where you deliberately overestimate later. Yeah. Neither is good practice.
Yeah.
Estimates need to be realistic based on data, and you need to keep refining them as the project progresses and you learn more.
Okay, so after all this planning and estimating, what's the key document that pulls it all together?
That would be the Resource Breakdown Structure, or RBS.
RBS.
It's a crucial document. Think of it as a hierarchy, breaking down all the resources you need: labor, material, equipment. But it goes deeper, detailing resource types.
So not just developer, but specifies skills, maybe seniority?
Exactly. Required skill level, maybe a grade level if your company uses them, necessary certifications. It's like the technical dictionary for all the project's resource needs. Really detailed.
Okay, we've laid out the mechanics, the structure of managing resources, but let's be honest, the biggest variable, the part that introduces the most risk, but also the most potential reward, it's the people, right?
Without a doubt. This is where project management moves beyond logistics and really gets into psychology.
And organizational theory comes in here. How does that help?
Well, it gives us proven principles about how people behave, how teams work, how organizational units interact. Understanding this actually shortens your resource planning time because you're not starting from scratch. It helps you build and manage teams more effectively.
So understanding what makes people tick is key to managing them well. Let's talk motivation. Hertzberg's theory often comes up.
Yes, Hertzberg's 2-factor theory. It's brilliant because it separates things really clearly. It distinguishes between factors that prevent dissatisfaction and factors that actually cause motivation. They're not the same thing.
Okay, explain that difference.
So Hertzberg identified what he called motivating agents. These are intrinsic factors, things that come directly from the work itself, like feeling a sense of responsibility, opportunities for self-actualization or professional growth, getting recognition for good work, appreciation, maybe educational opportunities tied to the role. If you give a developer real ownership over a critical piece of the system, that responsibility itself is a powerful motivator.
Okay, those are the things that make you want to do a great job. What about the other side?
The other side involves hygiene factors. These are things like salary, working conditions, job security, company policies. Now, here's the crucial part. If these hygiene factors are bad, low pay, terrible office, fear of layoffs, people become extremely dissatisfied, they'll probably quit.
Right. You need decent pay and conditions just to keep people around.
Exactly. But, and this is Hertzberg's key insight, simply improving hygiene factors beyond a certain point doesn't necessarily lead to more motivation or higher performance. Giving someone a huge bonus might make them happy for a bit, but it doesn't inherently inspire that deep, long-term dedication or creativity like feeling your work is meaningful does.
So the PM's job is partly to ensure the hygiene factors are adequate, but more importantly, to engineer the work itself to deliver those intrinsic motivators.
That's a great way to put it. Maximize the motivating agents derived from the work.
Interesting. What about other theories? Expectancy theory.
Yes, expectancy theory complements Herzberg nicely. It helps us understand why certain rewards work for some people and not others, or why motivation sometimes fails even when rewards are offered. It has a few key parts.
Okay.
First, there's valence.
Right.
This is simply the importance the individual places on the potential outcome or reward.
So how much do I actually want the thing being offered?
Exactly. Let's say your team just finished a brutal crunch period. They're exhausted. If you offer a mandatory weekend team-building retreat as a reward, well, for an introverted coder who just wants to decompress at home, that reward might have zero or even negative valence. It's not something they value.
Right. The reward has to match the person's desires. What else?
Then there's instrumentality. This is the person's belief that achieving a certain level of performance will actually lead to that valued outcome.
So if I do a good job, will I really get the reward?
Precisely. Imagine a team member delivers an incredibly complex module under intense pressure. They were promised a promotion or maybe a significant bonus. But then, due to budget cuts or bureaucracy, it never happens.
Oh, the link is broken.
Totally broken.
Yeah.
And once that happens, instrumentality collapses. If people don't believe their hard work will reliably lead to a reward they value, motivation just flatlines. Why bother trying?
That makes sense. You mentioned McClellan's needs, too. How does that fit in?
McClellan looked at different drivers. Two are particularly relevant here. The need for power, NPOW, and the need for affiliation.
Okay, power versus connection.
Sort of. People high in POW are motivated by authority, influence, status. They like to be in charge, make an impact. These individuals often make good technical leads or maybe scrum masters, roles where they can guide and influence. People high in NFL are motivated by friendly relationships, harmony, being liked and accepted by the team. They thrive in collaborative roles, maybe mentoring junior members, writing documentation roles, where building trust and good relationships are key. Knowing these underlying needs helps you match people to roles where they'll naturally be more motivated.
So it's about leveraging both the internal drive, the intrinsic motivation, like a programmer just loving to solve a hard problem.
Yes, the joy of the work itself.
And the external rewards, the extrinsic motivation, like bonuses or recognition.
Right. And the best PMs know that intrinsic drive is what provides sustainable passion. Extrinsic rewards are useful, but they need to be tied clearly to performance to reinforce success without becoming the only reason people show up.
Okay, this is all great for managing the team you have, but what about getting the team in the first place? You mentioned negotiation. There must be pitfalls here too.
Oh, a huge one. A really dangerous cognitive bias called the halo effect.
The halo effect, what's that?
It's when our overall positive impression of someone in one area makes us assume they'll be good in other unrelated areas.
Okay. How does that play out in IT?
We see it constantly.
Yeah.
You've got this absolutely brilliant coder, writes elegant, efficient Python, super fast, super capable. Management sees this technical genius.
And they fall in love.
Exactly. And the halo effect kicks in. They think, wow, this person is a rock star programmer, therefore they'll obviously be a great project manager or a great team lead or automatically good at client presentations.
Assuming technical skill translates directly to leadership or communication skill.
Precisely. And the result is often disaster. The person promoted based on skills irrelevant to the new role struggles terribly. They might hate managing budgets, resolving conflicts, dealing with stakeholders, they burn out, the project suffers, and you've lost a great coder and gained a struggling PM.
So the PM, when acquiring resources, needs to actively fight that bias. Look at the actual requirements for the role, not just how good someone is at their current job.
Absolutely. Assess competence against the specific needs of the project role. Don't get blinded by the halo.
Makes sense. So acquiring the team, especially borrowing people internally from other managers, you said it requires soft skills.
Tremendous soft skills. It's not just filling out a resource request form. It's often persuasion and negotiation.
So what kind of skills are we talking about?
Well, first, motivation. Not just motivating the team once you have them, but motivating functional managers to give you their best people, and then motivating those people to join your project, making them feel empowered to participate in decisions, encouraging some independence.
Give them some autonomy.
Right. And then there's influencing and negotiation. These are critical. You use them to convince those managers to release talent, yes, but also to gather information you need, to build consensus within the team about project priorities or technical approaches, and generally build trust and harmony, especially if team members are competing for scarce resources like time on a specific test server.
Okay, So you've used your skills, you've assembled the team, now you have to get them working together effectively. You mentioned team development stages.
Yes, Bruce Tuckman's model. It's a classic, and it holds true for pretty much any team, definitely IT project teams. There are 5 stages.
5 stages. What are they?
It starts with forming. This is the initial meeting phase. Everyone's usually polite, learning about the project, figuring out roles and responsibilities. People tend to be a bit independent, maybe less open, cautious.
Okay, the getting to know your phase. What's next?
Next comes storming. And this stage is crucial, even though it can be uncomfortable.
Storming sounds confrontational.
It often is. This is where disagreements surface. People start pushing boundaries, competing for status or control. In IT, this looks like arguments over coding standards, maybe which database technology to use, intense debates about future priorities. Conflict emerges.
And the PM's role isn't to shut that down.
No, not necessarily. It's to facilitate it productively. Guide the conflict towards resolution. Help the team work through the disagreements. Suppressing it just makes things worse later.
Okay, so after the storm.
If managed well, the team moves into norming. Cohesion starts to build. Roles become clearer. Procedures get established, maybe agreeing on a specific Git workflow or how meetings will run. There's more harmony, shared expectations.
Things start clicking into place.
Exactly. And that leads to performing. This is the goal. The team structure and processes are working. There's trust, efficiency. The team is focused on achieving the project goals, working collaboratively and effectively. High productivity happens here.
And the last stage.
Finally, there's a journey. The project is completed, the work is done, and the team disbands. People move on to other projects.
And what helps a team move through these stages successfully?
Well, deliberate actions by the PM and the organization. Things like targeted training, maybe formal courses or informal training based on performance reviews, and strategic team-building activities designed to improve communication and trust. These are the drivers that accelerate development. We mentioned conflict during storming, but let's be clear. Conflict isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's actually an integral, almost necessary ingredient in any complex project.
Really? Necessary.
Think about it. You've got pressures on schedules, disagreements about priorities, different technical opinions from smart people. Conflict is pretty much inevitable. Good planning, setting clear ground rules, good communication efforts, these can prevent some conflicts, but not all.
So the PM needs to be ready to mediate.
Absolutely. He needs to be an expert mediator, really, because the stakes are incredibly high.
How so?
If you manage conflict successfully, bringing different viewpoints together, you actually end up with greater productivity, better decisions, more innovative solutions.
Okay, conflict leading to positive outcomes.
But if you mishandle it, if conflicts fester or arguments get personal, the negative effects are drastic. Morale plummets, delays mount, people might even quit. And this gets really tough when you're dealing with, say, senior technical experts who are very confident in their opinions and hard to persuade.
Okay, so how do you handle it? Are there specific techniques?
Yes, there are generally 5 recognized techniques for conflict resolution. We can think about them on a spectrum from, let's say, most constructive to least constructive long-term.
All right, what's the best approach?
The ideal, the win-win, is collaborate problem solve. This means confronting the issue directly, digging into it, incorporating everyone's perspective, and finding a solution that genuinely addresses the core concerns of everyone involved. It takes time, but it leads to the best, most lasting resolutions.
Okay, collaborate is best. But what if you don't have time or it's just not working?
Right. Sometimes you need a different approach. In a crisis, maybe like a sudden security breach that needs an immediate fix, you might have to use force direct.
Force direct sounds like my way or the highway.
Pretty much. It's pushing your viewpoint or decision through, often at the expense of the other party's concerns. It gets a quick result, which can be necessary sometimes, but overuse it, and you'll destroy trust and morale. It's a win-lose approach.
Okay, use sparingly. What else?
Then there's smooth accommodate. Here, you focus on areas of agreement and kind of downplay the differences. You might concede your position on minor points to keep the peace or maintain harmony.
So sort of papering over the cracks, temporary fix.
Often, yes. It can be useful to cool things down or move forward quickly if the issue isn't critical, but it doesn't usually resolve the underlying problem.
What about compromise? Isn't that usually seen as good?
It's compromise reconcile, and actually it's often considered a lose-lose situation in conflict resolution theory.
Lose-lose, why?
Because both parties typically have to give up something significant to reach a solution. It results in only a partial satisfaction for everyone. It's often used just to avoid a bigger fight, but again, the root cause might still be there. It's a temporary truce more than a real solution sometimes.
Okay, interesting. So what's the worst approach?
Generally, the worst long-term strategy is withdraw avoid. Just retreating from the conflict, postponing the discussion, pretending it doesn't exist.
Sticking your head in the sand.
Exactly. The only time this is maybe okay is for a very brief cooling off period if emotions are running really high. But if you avoid the issue, the conflict just festers, grows bigger, and becomes much harder and more damaging to deal with later. You definitely don't want to withdraw from a conflict impacting the critical path.
Got it. So managing conflict is key. What about general leadership styles for managing the team day to day? Does a PM need to adapt their style?
Oh, absolutely. Effective PMs use situational leadership. They flex their approach based on the team's maturity, their skills, and the specific situation or task.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. One style is coaching selling. Here, the leader still defines the roles and tasks pretty clearly, but they actively seek input and ideas from the team members. It's very much a two-way communication street. You're guiding, but also listening and incorporating their suggestions.
Okay, more collaborative. What else?
As the team gets more capable, you might move to supporting participating. In this style, the leader delegates more of the day-to-day decision-making, like how tasks are allocated, the specific processes used to the team members themselves. The leader is there to facilitate, remove roadblocks, provide resources, but the control over how the work gets done rests more with the team.
So empowering the team more.
Exactly. And then, for highly mature, experienced teams, you might use mature, capable delegating. Here, the leader is still involved, especially in major decisions or if things go wrong, but the followers, the team members, have significant control. They often decide when and how the leader needs to be involved. It signifies high trust and proven competence.
So the PM needs to be able to shift between these styles.
Constantly assessing the team and the situation and adapting their approach.
Now, all these leadership skills, all this conflict management, it feels like they get put under a microscope in one particular environment, virtual teams.
Absolutely. Managing distributed teams adds layers of complexity. And the stats are pretty sobering. Some research indicates that business leaders running virtual teams report failure rates as high as 80%.
80%? That's not sustainable. Clearly, just doing things the same way as in person doesn't work.
Not at all. It requires very specific, deliberate strategies. Research points to 3 critical themes for success with virtual teams.
Okay, what's theme number 1?
Theme 1, improve leadership competencies and skills. And the absolute top item here, mentioned by 100% of participants in one study, was communication.
Communication is always key, but what's different virtually?
It needs to be more frequent, more deliberate, higher fidelity. You need to ensure information actually converges, that everyone's on the same page. And crucially, it involves displaying empathy and concern, actively asking how remote team members are doing, checking in on a human level, not just about tasks.
Building that connection despite the distance. What else under leadership skills?
Trust and confidence, cited by 60%. Trust is way harder to build when you're not sharing coffee breaks, right? But it's a massive factor in productivity. You build it through that frequent, effective, transparent communication, and by really respecting people's time, their culture, especially across different time zones.
Makes sense. Technology must play a role, too.
Huge role. Technology competence was noted by 60% as well. Leaders absolutely must master the tools, web conferencing, chat platforms, shared document systems, digital workflows, not just to use them, but to equip the team properly and help them overcome technical hurdles or resistance to working in new digital ways.
Okay, so better leadership skills focused on communication, trust, and tech. What's theme 2?
Theme 2, create a model for communication and collaboration. Again, 100% agreement in the research. A lack of a proper defined communication structure is a primary cause of ineffectiveness in virtual teams.
So you can't just assume collaboration will happen.
No, you have to design for it. Leaders need to mandate and model open collaboration. Use the digital tools actively to encourage engagement, brainstorming, shared problem solving. You have to fight the isolation that can creep in and kill performance.
Right, be intentional about connection. And theme 3?
Theme 3, create a model for strategic planning. This is about bringing clarity and direction to the decentralized team, which boosts operational efficiency. It breaks down into 3 parts.
Okay.
First, a clear vision. 100% agreed this was vital. When people are scattered, the project vision needs to be articulated constantly, consistently. It defines the direction, reminds everyone why their work matters, and keeps motivation high.
Keep reinforcing the big picture.
Exactly. Second, clear goals and objectives. Again, 100% agreement. They must be unambiguous, communicated consistently. You need to remove any guessing game about what needs to be done and why. Every remote worker has to see exactly how their piece fits into the overall puzzle.
Clarity removes friction. What's the third part?
Clear action plans. About 60% agreed on the significance here. As one participant put it, without an action plan, the vision does not come to life. The action plan provides that detailed roadmap, the step-by-step guidance. It reduces ambiguity and gives remote workers the structure they need to execute effectively on their own.
Vision, goals, action plans, making the strategy tangible for everyone wherever they are.
That's the essence of it.
Okay, before we move to scheduling, just circling back quickly to controlling physical resources, we talked about servers, materials. Even with virtual teams, you still have physical stuff sometimes, right?
Oh, absolutely. Or even just critical software licenses or cloud environments. The PM still needs to ensure those physical or dedicated digital assets are available at the right time, in the right place, configured correctly.
And equally important, releasing them when done.
Critically important, especially with expensive resources like cloud instances or specialized software seats. Release them immediately when they're no longer needed to avoid those unnecessary costs we discussed. Don't let things sit idle and drain the budget.
And what happens when things go wrong with these resources? Like your main supplier for a critical component goes bankrupt, or a server arrives damaged.
Yeah, unexpected problems happen. The PM needs a methodical approach. Don't just panic. Follow the steps. First, identify the problem clearly. Then, define it, break it down into manageable parts. Then, investigate, gather data, understand the root cause.
Okay, identify, define, investigate.
Then, analyze the potential solutions. Solve, choose the best option, maybe find a new supplier, implement a workaround, and finally, crucially, check the solution. Did the fix actually work? Did it introduce any new problems? Verify.
All right, we've covered managing the resources themselves, both physical and human, and dealing with the inevitable friction. Now let's look at how all this ties into the big picture of scheduling. How do we actually use this knowledge to deliver the project on time?
This is where strategic scheduling methods come in. Two major frameworks dominate the discussion: the traditional critical path method, or CPM, and the somewhat newer, more resource-focused critical chain method, CCM.
Okay, CPM and CCM both aim to keep the project on schedule, right?
Yes, that's the goal for both. But their underlying philosophies, particularly about how they handle resources and uncertainty, are fundamentally different, almost opposed in some ways.
Interesting. Let's start with the traditional one, CPM. What's its core idea?
CPM is very task-centric. Its main focus is identifying the longest sequence of dependent activities in the project plan. That sequence is the critical path.
And it's critical because any delay to any task on that path delays the entire project finish date.
Exactly. Any task on the critical path has zero float or slack. CPM is excellent for visualizing these task dependencies and understanding the minimum possible project duration if everything goes exactly as planned.
How does it figure out this path and the timings?
It uses calculations based on task estimates: early start, ES, early finish, EF, late start, LS, and late finish, LF, for every single task.
Yeah.
The difference between the early and late dates tells you how much float or buffer time exists for tasks not on the critical path.
Okay, sounds logical. But you mentioned a flaw. What's the big assumption CPM makes?
The huge, often unrealistic assumption CPM makes is that all the resources you need will be available exactly when the schedule says you need them. It basically assumes resource availability is infinite or perfectly predictable.
Which, in the real world, it rarely is, especially for specialized people or equipment.
Precisely. Your schedule might say task A and task B can happen in parallel. But if they both need the same database administrator and there's only one, CPM doesn't inherently account for that resource contention.
Okay, that's a major limitation. What about those buffers, the float on non-critical tasks? How does CPM handle them?
This is another key area where CPM often runs into trouble due to human behavior. CPM allocates that float time to individual tasks.
So if my task isn't critical and has, say, 5 days of float,
What typically happens, Parkinson's law kicks in. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Or maybe student syndrome. People wait until the last possible moment to start, so that 5-day buffer often gets completely used up by the person doing the task.
meaning there's no safety net left if an actual problem occurs on that task.
Exactly. The individual task buffer gets consumed by inefficiency or procrastination, not saved for genuine uncertainty. So if a real issue hits that task, it can still end up delaying downstream activities, potentially even impacting the critical path eventually.
Okay, so CPM is good for understanding tasks, but struggles with resource limits and buffer management. How does critical chain method, CCM, differ?
CCM is a more radical approach. It was developed by Eliyahu Goldratt, building on his theory of constraints. It starts with the CPM network, but fundamentally changes the philosophy around resources and uncertainty.
How so? What's its core philosophy?
CCM treats the project like a relay race. The focus isn't on optimizing individual tasks, but on protecting the overall project completion date. It explicitly acknowledges that resources are limited and that uncertainty is inevitable.
Okay, so it tackles CPM's weaknesses head-on. How does it handle resources?
Instead of assuming infinite resources, CCM explicitly considers limited resources. It identifies the resource constraints, those bottlenecks we talked about earlier, and builds the schedule around optimizing their utilization. It tries hard to prevent situations where key resources are overloaded or pulled in multiple directions at once.
That sounds much more realistic for complex IT projects. What about time estimates and buffers? You said CPM gives buffers to individual tasks.
Right, and CCM says that's wasteful. CCM addresses estimation padding directly. Instead of asking for pessimistic estimates for each task, which often include hidden buffers, CCM typically asks for estimates that have about a 50% chance of being met. More aggressive, realistic estimates.
Whoa, 50%? That sounds risky. Doesn't that mean half the tasks will be late?
Individually, yes, maybe. But CCM takes all that buffer time that was previously hidden inside individual task estimates and aggregates it.
Pulls it all together.
Exactly. Instead of scattering small, easily wasted buffers throughout the plan, CCM creates large, strategically placed buffers for the system as a whole. The main one is the project buffer, placed right at the very end of the critical chain.
Ah, so it's a buffer to protect the final project deadline, not individual task deadlines.
Precisely. It absorbs the cumulative delays and variations from tasks along the critical chain.
Are there other buffers in CCM?
Yes, two other important types. Feeding buffers are placed where non-critical chains merge into the critical chain. They act like shock absorbers, protecting the critical chain from delays originating on those less critical paths.
Okay, so delays on side tasks don't immediately impact the main sequence.
Correct. And the other type is resource buffers. These aren't actually time buffers. They're more like alerts or signals.
Alerts? For what?
They signal to a critical, often constrained resource, like that lead architect or a specialized testing team, that they need to be ready to start a critical chain task soon, maybe in the next day or two. It prevents them from getting tied up in other, less critical work right when the critical chain needs them. It helps ensure smooth handoffs.
That sounds really smart. What about multitasking? You said CPM allows it if there's float.
Yes, CPM implicitly allows it. CCM, however, fundamentally prohibits multitasking on the critical chain.
Prohibits it. Why?
Because context switching, jumping between tasks, is incredibly inefficient. CCM forces resources to focus completely on finishing their current critical chain task before moving to the next one. Think back to the relay race analogy. You don't want your fastest runner trying to carry two batons at once. Full focus on the critical task gets it done faster overall.
Okay, that's a huge difference in working style. Let's quickly summarize the key contrasts then.
Sure, CPM's focus is primarily task management and dependencies. CCM's focus is resource management and buffer management.
Right, and resources.
CPM largely assumes resource availability. CCM actively optimizes limited resources and plans around constraints.
Buffers.
CPM puts buffers on individual tasks, where they often get wasted. CCM aggregates buffers and places them strategically for the entire project system. Project buffer, feeding buffers.
And multitasking.
CPM implicitly permits multitasking. CCM strictly prohibits it on the critical chain to maximize flow and efficiency.
It sounds like CCM might be more realistic, especially for complex projects with shared resources, but maybe harder to implement culturally.
That's often the case. CPM fits traditional management structures where managers like having their own task buffers. CCM requires more trust in the system, a more collaborative approach to managing risk via the central project buffer. The choice really depends on the project's specific constraints. Is time the absolute driver? Or are resource limitations the bigger challenge? #outro.
Wow, okay, we've covered a lot of ground. We started with the nuts and bolts, those 6 pillars of resource management.
Planning, estimating, acquiring, developing, managing, controlling.
Right. Then we really dove into the human element motivation theories, like Hertzberg's expectancy theory, avoiding that halo effect.
And the crucial stages of team development. from forming right through to performing.
We tackled the inevitability of conflict, looked at practical resolution techniques, and different leadership styles needed to navigate it all.
And highlighted those specific strategies needed for success in today's increasingly common virtual team environments: communication, trust, clear planning.
And finally, we contrasted those two major scheduling philosophies: the task-focused critical path method versus the resource and uncertainty-aware critical chain method.
It really shows how this whole body of knowledge, blending the mechanics, the human dynamics, the strategic planning, is what enables those ambitious digital ideas to actually become reality.
Absolutely. Mastering these resource concepts, understanding both the structure and the psychology, it feels paramount for anyone studying or practicing IT project management. It really is the difference between a project just crashing and burning or actually hitting its goals on time, on budget, and hopefully with a team that's still motivated at the end.
Well said.
So, as we wrap up, here's that final provocative thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. If every single IT project suddenly failed tomorrow, what part of your world would come crashing down first? Think about it from how hospitals safeguard patient data to how you stream music, even just accessing your university email or course materials.
It touches everything.
It really does. Behind every app launch, every online order, every single digital innovation, there's IT project management making it possible. Until next time, keep exploring this world where ideas become projects and projects shape our future.
And don't forget to like, follow, and definitely check the description for those supplemental resources. We'll see you on the next deep dive.